done things that nobody expected would be done, and we have managed to make sure that although things are not going the way we had planned, but they haven't gone overboard.
Mr. President, when did the US Fed begin raising the interest rates?
Maybe 2 years ago, immediately after the COVID situation. That is when they began to
Meaning
increase.
they were already doing this by the time of your election?
But they were not at 5.2.
And I'm just asking.
Yeah, they had
in
begun.
terms of what was happening.
They had begun.
I asked that because in April this year, that's when the government-to-government deal started.
Correct.
And I remember your deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, saying that those people that have dollars in their houses, it is time to sell because you're just about to suffer loss.
Yes.
Yourself, you said that you see it going below 120.
Correct.
$115 even.
Correct.
So if you have all this information, why then promise something that was also bound to the changes in the global economy?
You see,
and now you're saying it could have gone up to 200. Which figure do we trust?
Let me tell you, my friend, we live in a global environment. And I know you're saying that because when we structured the G2G, many people keep saying, but this is what's happening in this country. This is what's happening in this country. Fuel today is at diesel 200 shillings, 201 in Kenya. It's exactly the same in our neighboring countries, Tanzania, Uganda. Many people think that fuel in Kenya is artificially managed by government of Kenya. It is not.
We'll come to that.
I'm just giving you as an example, because so that you understand where we are. And I want to say this without fear of any contradiction. If we had not tamed, already we were having stockouts here of fuel because of the lack of dollars. Because all these oil companies were running around. When I came into office, the first people I met were the oil companies. And they told me, look, we can't find the dollars. You know, although we are being told dollars is at 120 something, 130, we can't find it. You know, the dollars are not there because the rates were artificial. So we came to discover later, you know, that, this dollar was being managed artificially. And that is how we realized that $2.6 billion of government money had been used, sold to banks, to support an artificial exchange rate that was actually going to go the opposite direction. If we hadn't been managing the dollar exchange rate artificially, today we would be talking a different story.
Mr. President, you've been in office for 15 months, and you wouldn't want to go to what happened in the previous regimes, and that's why you are taking.
I am not talking about any previous regime. I'm just giving you the facts.
Artificially what you're talking about. Let us remain here, and we're looking at even the region, in terms of the East African region. Look at even the Uganda shilling and the Tanzanian currencies. They aren't depreciating as fast as they are, as Kenya is doing. In fact, some of those currencies are actually appreciating as we speak today. They do not have a government-to-government deal, but they are somewhere. Most of them import from Kenya. The question is, what has been the problem with the government-to-government deal, and why has it not been able to fix the slide in the Kenya shilling?
You know, the government-to-government deal is not the only thing that will fix the exchange rate. It is one of the many things, right? We are a different economy from Uganda. We are a different economy from Tanzania, right? We have much more imports. We import much more for our industries because we are a different economy for all our other services than Uganda or Tanzania does. We are not in the same category economy-wise. We are a middle-income economy. They are in a different category, not like us. So you cannot compare them and us. Then you are not comparing the same stuff. And I don't want us to talk about other countries because then I don't want us to say which country is better than which one.
Then, Mr. President, let's talk solutions.
Yes.
Because this basically drives almost everything, right, in the country. So the question would be what you are doing to strengthen the Kenya shilling.
Precisely. That now you're talking. 3 things. Number 1, you have heard me clearly. In the last budget, I said there are things we are importing today which we should not be importing. We shouldn't be importing cement. We shouldn't be importing steel. We shouldn't be importing furniture. There are many things we are spending huge amounts of money to import when we can manufacture them locally. That is the reason why we have put a levy on the import of these unnecessary imports of products into Kenya, so that we can stem the export of our foreign currency and manufacture those items locally. Number 2, we are importing 500 billion Kenya shillings every year of food items. 500 billion. From edible oil to maize to rice to all those. 500 billion US dollars we are importing. Uganda does not import that much food. Tanzania does not import that much food. We are the only country that imports that much food. Why? Because we haven't paid as much attention to agriculture. And number 2, we need to understand that while Uganda 80% is arable with rain, Kenya only 15% is arable with rain. Tanzania is a completely different story. Almost 60% of their land has rain and is arable. Ours only 15%. That's why we are importing $500 million of food into Kenya. So what we need to do, we need to pay attention to our agriculture. The reason why we have invested, and that is why in the manifesto that I sold to the people of Kenya, agriculture, modernization, mechanization is one of the big tickets that I decided that I'm going to do. We have changed the trajectory on our staple food. Today, we are producing more in terms of maize, which is our staple food. In fact, my plan is that by next year, we shouldn't be importing maize into Kenya. We should be producing enough. This year, we have increased our production of maize by 40%, more than we did last year. Last year, we produced 44 million bags. We are producing 61 million bags this year. And it is because we have done interventions. Fertilizer that was being sold at 7,000, we are now selling at 2,500 because we are supporting production. We are full scale into the space of edible oil that we are importing. I am working with different governors. This year, we are working on sunflower, we are working on soya, we are working on palm oil. The president of Indonesia was here. We have agreed on a whole chain because they are the biggest country that we import edible oil from. They are going to work with us to grow palm oil in Kenya. That project is being led by county governments. In fact, it is being led by Gladys Wanga, the county governor of Homa Bay, because it is in the coastal region and around Lake Victoria that we will have the biggest space and the biggest opportunity for us to produce palm oil. We are going to do more around sunflower. We are going to do more so that we also stem the tide of loss of dollars into other jurisdictions because of food imports. So these are the things that I am doing. Number 3, I am also looking at how are we going to get more foreign exchange into Kenya. That is why I am working round the clock to make sure that we have more Kenyans working in Kenya, in foreign companies when they are in Kenya, and we are also connecting Kenyans to opportunities outside Kenya. For your information, just so that I conclude, I made a commitment in our plan that we want to increase foreign remittances coming into Kenya, hard currency that comes into Kenya from foreign remittance from $4 billion to $10 billion. It is the reason why we just concluded a diaspora investment conference here in KICC this week. It is the reason why I have signed a bilateral agreement, labor agreement with Saudi, with UAE, with Germany, with Canada, and many other countries. We are exploring possibilities. And for your information, as a result of those, what I have been doing, between now and next month, January, the first 10,000 Kenyans will be leaving to go and work in foreign countries so that they can support themselves and support Kenya, because many countries have established a strategy on how to grow their foreign exchange earnings.
On the other hand,
maybe still on the government-to-government deals, is it giving us as a nation the desired results?
Absolutely.
8 months down the line?
Absolutely. In fact, that same government product or program, many countries are seeking to know how they can copy that program, because it is giving us what we couldn't have gotten in a different way.
Then how can we control the prices now? You see, fuel, it's been up and down. Right now we're talking of 210, 212 per litre.
Ali Manzu.
Yes.
You heard me say this. The price of fuel is not determined by the government of Kenya. It is not determined by any company. It is determined by the producers. That is why today the price of fuel in Kenya is the same price in Uganda, is the same price in Tanzania, because we buy from the same place.
Mheshimiwa Rais, tutakuja kwa hilo baadaye.
I've heard people say the president should reduce the price to 150.
Tutarudi kwa hilo baadaye, Mheshimiwa Rais.
How are you going to do that? Unless I take taxpayers' money and go and subsidize, which is removing money from this pocket and putting it in this other pocket.
Mheshimiwa Rais,
tunaposema kwamba bei ya mafuta, serikali haina uwezo mkubwa kuhusiana na bei ya mafuta.